Hello everyone and welcome to Moon Monday. Every Monday we take a step back before the week begins. We slow down, reflect, and pay attention to the environment we're creating within ourselves. Today I want to ask you a simple question. What are you feeding every day? At first you might think I'm talking about food. I'm not. I'm talking about your mind, your emotions, your attention. Because every single day we're feeding something. We're feeding hope or discouragement. We're feeding gratitude or resentment. We're feeding possibility or limitation. Whether we realize it or not, we're constantly reinforcing patterns. Think about a garden. If you water the flowers, they'll grow. If you water the weeds, they'll grow too. The garden doesn't decide which plants deserve the water. It simply responds to where your attention goes. I think our inner world works much the same way. Now, this doesn't mean we should ignore difficult emotions. That's important. I'm not suggesting we pretend everything is wonderful when it isn't. If you're sad, acknowledge it. If you're frustrated, acknowledge it. If you're grieving, honor that experience. The goal isn't denial, the goal is awareness. Ask yourself, after I've acknowledged this emotion, what am I choosing to feed next? Am I feeding hope or am I feeding hopelessness? Am I feeding curiosity or am I feeding fear? The choice, repeated day after day, begins to shape our inner environment. One of the ideas I often talk about is that trend energy isn't really about chasing a specific outcome. It's about creating an environment that supports the direction you want to move. Think about that for a moment. If I wanted to grow tomatoes, I wouldn't spend every day pulling on the plant trying to make it taller. I'd improve the soil. I'd water it. I'd make sure it gets sunlight. I'd create the conditions where healthy growth becomes possible. Our minds deserve the same care. Sometimes we become so focused on changing our circumstances that we forget to change the environment we're living in emotionally. The books we read, the conversations we have, the videos we watch, the music we listen to, the thoughts we repeat. All of these become part of the environment we're feeding every single day. That's why I like starting the week with reflection. Monday gives us an opportunity to ask, what kind of environment am I creating this week? Maybe your environment needs more peace. Maybe it needs more optimism. Maybe it needs confidence. Maybe it simply needs less noise. And sometimes that's, easier to accomplish than others. One practice I find helpful is paying attention to what I repeatedly consume. If I spend an hour scrolling through negativity, I shouldn't be surprised if my mind feels unsettled. If I surround myself with encouraging ideas, thoughtful conversations, and meaningful practices, my perspective begins to shift. This isn't about pretending life is perfect. It's about being intentional with what we're reinforcing. This is one reason I enjoy working with the Trend Energy cards. Each one reminds me of a quality I'd like to strengthen. Not because I expect a card to do the work for me, but because it keeps my attention returning to something constructive. This week, I'm choosing the Optimism Trend Energy Card. This is my optimism. It says, I choose to focus on possibilities and trust that good things are on their way. So this optimism, which you can get in the school community, and this optimism you can get in the AOD 48 pack on the Stand store or in the Life Manifestation School community. Not blind optimism, not unrealistic optimism, but the willingness to believe that today's circumstances don't have to define tomorrow's possibilities. Optimism asks a powerful question. What if something good is also unfolding? That question alone can change how we approach the day. Another tool I enjoy pairing with reflection is meditation. Meditation isn't about stopping every thought, it's about noticing which thoughts we're feeding. When we observe our thoughts without immediately believing every one of them, we create space, and in that space we gain choice. We can decide what deserves more of our attention. I'd also encourage you to spend a few minutes journaling today. Here are a few questions. What have I been feeding with my attention lately? What thoughts have become habits? Which habits are supporting the life I want to create? Which ones are quietly working against me? And finally, what do I want to intentionally feed this week? Maybe it's gratitude. Maybe it's creativity. Maybe it's patience. Maybe it's confidence. Whatever your answer is, remember that small, consistent moments matter. You don't have to transform your life today. You simply have to choose what you'll nourish, because what we feed grows stronger. As we move through this week, notice where your attention goes naturally. When you catch yourself feeding worry, gently redirect it towards possibility. When you notice yourself feeding self-criticism, practice encouragement instead. Small shifts repeated consistently create lasting change. Let's finish today's Moon Monday with a short meditation. Find a comfortable position. Take a slow breath in. and gently breathe out. Again, breathe in and breathe out. Imagine standing in a beautiful garden. Some plants are thriving. Others have become overgrown. As you walk through the garden, you carry a watering can. You don't have enough water for everything, so you pause. You choose carefully. You water peace. You water gratitude. You water hope. You water courage. You water clarity. Notice those plants becoming stronger, brighter, more vibrant. The weeds begin to lose their influence simply because they are no longer receiving your attention. Take another slow breath. Silently repeat, I choose what I nourish. I create an environment that supports my highest intentions. Every day, I feed peace, gratitude, clarity, and hope. Take one final deep breath. As you open your eyes, ask yourself one simple question. What will I feed today? Thank you for joining me for Moon Monday. I hope this reflection encourages you to begin your week with greater awareness, greater intention, and a reminder that what we consistently nourish has the greatest opportunity to grow. Have a wonderful week.